And next week, voters will head to the polls for Detroit's primary election. 9 candidates vying to be the city's next mayor will be on the ballot. And we have asked each of them to sit down with us for a one-on-one conversation before Election Day. And joining us today is James Craig. Thank you for being here today.
You're welcome, Sarah. Glad to be here.
Yeah, your face is one of the more familiar in the lineup of candidates. As a former police chief in Detroit, most of our viewers have seen you for years. But
yes.
What is something that people may not know about you that they should?
Well, you know, I served 8 years as police chief, and certainly I came at a very difficult time in Detroit's history, the bankruptcy. So to serve during that time and make the kind of changes that I made certainly puts me in a great place to be the next mayor. We need stability, and we absolutely need executive leadership. You know, people know about the Green Light program. People know about neighborhood police officers. Those are things that were put in place that really made a difference, reducing 911 call for service. So I like to always tell folks that the police department really is, running a police department is a microcosm of running a city. So the city has 9,000 employees. Our police department, roughly 4,300. And it's more, when you're running a city, you are the CEO, you are running a company. And one thing that's critically important is the ability to lead effectively the men and women who are serving the citizens of Detroit.
Yeah, this is a critical time for this city.
Very critical.
So much progress has happened over the last decade or so. How would you continue that progress? And would you take a different direction than Mayor Duggan has?
Well, you know, I would build on what Mayor Duggan did. Certainly, Mayor Duggan came in around the same time I did, so he had a heavy lift, and he did a wonderful job. But the thing I would do different going forward is really put a different focus. I know Mayor Duggan has acknowledged that he would have liked to have done more in the neighborhood, so that work has to be done. But that doesn't mean that we do nothing with downtown. I mean, that's a neighborhood as well, but we got to grow our economy. And I would tell you, my big concern is, what is the health, the financial health of the city going forward? One of the first things I would do is certainly do a forensic audit, a panel of forensic audit, so we know. We can't go back, and that's why this election is so important. We look at some of these other major cities that are having problems, like even my old home of Los Angeles, Chicago, Illinois, with mayors. This is a critically important, and you need someone not for on-the-job training, but someone who can go to work and start to work day one.
You mentioned doing more in the neighborhoods. We hear from viewers all the time that people in the neighborhoods feel left behind when they see all of the progress in downtown, midtown, not as much in the neighborhood. So what specifically would you propose happens outside of the downtown, midtown area?
Well, again, building on the economy and focusing on small business growth. That's something that's kind of lagging. And one of the reasons, because I've talked to small business owners who are in the neighborhoods, the issue is the bureaucratic red tape. I have a plan to come in with what I call CityStat. You may know that when I came to the police department, I brought ComStat, which is a management analyst tool. I didn't create that tool. That was something that Bill Bratton out of New York created. But I'm going to apply that to the entire city. And it really shows and holds department heads accountable. We know in real time, it's transparent, but part of that process will be able to streamline the red tape that bogs down a lot of these small businesses who have invested, and it takes sometimes years to really get up fully running. There are 77 steps, for example, for a restaurant to open in Detroit.
All right, let's talk about crime a little bit. Public safety is your area. How would you address some of the crime that we've seen, especially among young people recently, the violence affecting kids and teens?
Well, you know, it's tragic, and I certainly don't want to be critical of the response to the recent uptick in youth-based crime. We got to stop the bleeding. However, we can't continue to be reactive, but we must be proactive. There were things that we did, certainly not a day goes by where I might run into a senior citizen that says, you know, Chief, I lived in the city all my life, and you're one of the best chiefs that I've seen. And one of the reasons they say is because I set a tone. That tone resonated with the residents. It resonated with criminals as well. I'm not saying that's the only thing, but when you talk about being proactive and dealing with youth, we have to do youth-based programming. I did it here working with public schools. I think our public schools are broken, severely broken, and I certainly would work with the superintendent. But I started some after-school program called City Tramp, Children in Trauma Intervention. After-school program, 3 days a week, highly successful in the few that we ran. But that was only just scratching the surface. Those are the kind of things that make a difference. I mean, really changing the lives of these young people around. What oftentimes doesn't get discussed is these young people who live in vulnerable neighborhoods, violent neighborhoods, are suffering from PTSD. And we need to get them mental health. So there are a lot of dynamics when you talk about crime, and certainly education and supporting parents and the children.
All right, well, that is all of our time for today.
Well, I had more to say.
I know you did. We hope to have you back sometime.
Okay.
Former
All right.
Police Chief James Craig, we
you.
appreciate your time.